Rapunzel, first collected and published by the Brothers Grimm in 1812. Once upon a time, there lived a man and a woman who had long wished for a child, but never had one. But at last the woman became pregnant. These people had a little window in the back of their house, out of which they could see a fairy's garden, which was full of flowers and herbs of all sorts, but no one dared to enter the garden. One day, the woman stood at this window looking down and saw a lovely bed of Rapunzel. She had such a craving for it, and yet she knew she could not have any. She fell into distraction and depression. All of this frightened her husband, who asked his wife the reason she was in such a state. "Ah, if I can't get any of the Rapunzel from the garden behind our house to eat, surely I will die." The man, who loved his wife very much, thought, "I will get her some, whatever the cost." One evening, he climbed over the high wall and quickly dug up a handful of the Rapunzel, which he took home to his wife. The woman made a salad right away and ate it ravenously. The Rapunzel tasted so good to her, that she craved it 3 times as much the next day. The man saw that there would be no peace, so he went into the garden again. But he was terribly frightened, for there stood the fairy, who viciously scolded him for daring to enter her garden and steal from it. He begged to be excused as best he could, saying that his wife was pregnant and how it would put her in danger to refuse her request. At last the fairy said, "I will be content. You may take as much Rapunzel as you like, so long as you give me the child your wife now carries." Taken by fear, the man agreed to everything. When the woman went into labor, the fairy appeared instantly, named the little girl Rapunzel, and took her away. This Rapunzel became the most beautiful child under the sun, but when she was 12 years old, the fairy locked her in a high tower that had neither door nor stairs, only a small window at the very top. When the fairy wanted to come in, she stood below and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down to me." Rapunzel had magnificent hair, as fine as spun gold. When the fairy called out, she would untie it, wrap it around a window hook, and the hair would fall 20 ells down, and the fairy would climb up. One day, a young son of a king came through the forest where the tower stood. He saw the beautiful Rapunzel standing at the window and heard her singing with such a sweet voice that he fell completely in love with her. But since there was no door in the tower and no ladder could reach high enough, he fell into despair. Every day he went into the forest, and one day he saw the fairy come along and say, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then he saw the ladder that led to the tower. He had memorized the words he had to say, and the next day, when it was dark, he went to the tower and called up, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then she let her hair go, and when it was at the bottom, he grabbed hold of it and was pulled up. Rapunzel was frightened at first, but soon she liked the young king so well that she agreed with him that he should come to the tower every day. So they lived merrily and joyfully for quite some time. The fairy didn't find out what was going on until one day Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, Madame Gothel, my little clothes are getting so tight and won't fit any more." "Oh, you godless child," said the fairy. "What do I hear from you?" Right away she saw how she had been deceived and was quite furious. Then she took Rapunzel's beautiful hair, wrapped it around her left hand a couple of times, grabbed a pair of scissors with her right hand, and snip, snip, it was cut off. Then she banished Rapunzel to a desert, where she fared very poorly. After some time, she bore twins, a boy and a girl. But on the same day she had banished Rapunzel, the fairy fastened her cut hair to the hook. That evening, when the king's son came and said, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," She did let down the hair, but how astonished the prince was when he found the fairy up there instead of his beloved Rapunzel. "You know what?" the enraged fairy said. "Rapunzel is lost to you forever, you villain!" Then the prince became completely desperate, and in an instant he threw himself down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but lost the use of both eyes. He wandered sadly through the forest, eating nothing but grass and roots, and doing nothing but weeping. A few years later, he came to the desert where Rapunzel lived miserably with her children. Her voice seemed so familiar to him, and in the blink of an eye, she knew it was him and threw her arms around his neck. 2 of her tears fell into his eyes, and they became clear again, and he could see as before.